progressive in terms of that, so we don't like there's really little voice fighting against that. So I don't know, I think they only recognize their effect, the bad influences it has done to Korea, but never Taiwan. They never talk about Taiwan. For me, it's unfair because they've done that to so many people from so many places. They can't just recognize the ones in Korea because they can actually speak up.
Like Taiwanese people did quite nice job on it. Like, for example, the Railway Museum near our school, I've experienced the tour they provided before, and they did talk about the Japanese impact on our tourism and how the railway history has been like. And I remember they were like doing some kind of collaboration with a restaurant which provide the rice bowl as the mailbox for people to go on a train trip or something. And it is related to Japanese culture. Like in Taiwanese culture or Chinese culture, we don't really have a thing of bring rice bowl with us when like taking the train, but like when it comes to the tourist spots like this, they would connect it to how Japanese impact the whole railway history, or how the museum would provide us knowledge about why it would become like this today. So they would share a lot about the Japanese history and how it links to Taiwanese history. Yeah, so I think they did a pretty good job.
But I would say I will support them to keep some historical heritage in the city to remember people that this actually happened. I think it's an important part of the Taiwanese culture, and they did have a lot of influence on the modern Taiwanese culture. So I think it's a part of us, like even though that was from colonization.
So without them, I don't think Kaohsiung would be this well developed like today. Like one part, the port is pretty important for Kaohsiung. Like when it comes to Kaohsiung, people would think about the pier and hold the island connection. Like we take boats to Qijing, things like that, and of course the railway systems, because that's two of the biggest things that Japanese people contribute to Kaohsiung. And I would say the transportation would be really different without Japanese colonization, and also some construction as well, the buildings, because when we are like walking around some, like it is not like city like the downtown, but in some maybe countryside, there will still be like the building that you can see is like built with woods, which is not really common in like the traditional Taiwanese construction. But when you see like this woods made up house, you will know that it's Japanese, and it somehow gives out the vibe of Kaohsiung that's like connected to Japanese culture, and how the looking, it would be a lot different without Japanese.
I guess for now, like I would say over time that will probably fade out, like the Dutch colonization or the Qing colonization, because it was in the past. It was a long time ago. I will say the construction of the Taiwanese identity will drown out the Japanese colonization traces. I think it's like the shift of languages. It happens naturally. You can't force anything to happen. So I don't expect anything to happen. As long as like Taiwanese people can at peace with what they identify as.
So, in my opinion, since Taiwanese people have such good relationship with Japanese people, they would try their best to keep what Japanese people have left in Taiwan, include their historical construction and the cultures they left behind. I think it is kind of connection between Taiwanese people and Japanese. So no matter what, I think whether it's the people or the government, they would all trying to conserve everything that Japanese people left here. Yeah, so I don't think it will be gone in any time.
Today, Kaohsiung has become a political and economic center for Taiwan. The Japanese influence and colonization can still be seen in most districts. They are not represented as colonization effects but as part of Taiwan. Indeed, today, the streets and the mindsets have some Japanese footprints but became an integrated part of the culture of the country. The story of Hamasen development could hurt people, and reprisals can still be internally present in Taiwanese people's mind. The country and its identity have been shaped decades after decades of colonization and historical hardships. Thus, we could think that the country would destroy or change the aspect of buildings that have Japanese features in order to develop its own identity with different characteristics. The early 20th century Japanese architectural aspects of some places near Hamasen is highly present. But the main question would be why and how the city shaped, taking into consideration the past. Today, Kaohsiung and Hamasen are really popular among tourists. They often go to the railway station's museum for the atypical trains we can see. Ancient trains to recently constructed trains to attract tourists and add sparkle among the landscape and the old trains. Kaohsiung took the railway and transformed it into a museum, adding some Taiwanese touch to bring tourists' attention. The Japanese influence is mainly known by Taiwanese people, like, for example, the Japanese bank transformed into a restaurant. Tourists can also easily understand the context of some building, but sometimes it's not obvious, like with the building of Le Bon Marché. Keeping the Japanese buildings attract tourists and increase the local economy. In addition, some buildings are protected by the law and are part of the cultural heritage. Maintaining the buildings and Japanese footprints is a way to highlight and remember the country's past. Like the Dutch building in Tainan, the impact of Japan on Taiwan is also a key element to the country. Remembering the development of our own country. Understanding and knowing the history of one country gives people self-reflection on some issues and allows them to assume that colonization did shape the way the country is now. To me, keeping these buildings is a memorial to people and the country itself, transforming an old wound into a strength. Tourism, education, and modernity is Taiwan's way to prosper today, being proud and to keep its heritage. Like some other countries where war crimes or colonization's impacts are shown, Hamasen shows colonization, but also how to keep their heritage and shift it into Taiwanese culture without disregarded by the locals. Living in Kaohsiung, especially at NSYSU, allowed us to know the neighborhood quite well this year. As Europeans, our mind on Taiwan prior to arriving here was mainly considering the cross-strait relationships. We do think that the European and French media never emphasized Taiwan history prior to the ROC period. Discovering Taiwanese cities like Kaohsiung and their past made us realize the complexity of the society's legacy today.